Engines rumble. Streets whisper of power and blood. This is the Quebec Biker War. Ride with me into the truth. It led to more than 30 arrests in a single week, and authorities warned that many more were coming. Police called it a devastating blow to a violent criminal organization known as the Blood Family Mafia, a street gang tied to Montreal's underworld. But this wasn't an isolated takedown. It was the aftershock of a war that had already ripped Quebec apart. A war that didn't begin in the shadows, but in broad daylight. August 9th, 1995. 11-year-old Daniel Desrochers was playing outside his home in a quiet Montreal neighborhood when a parked car suddenly exploded across the street. The blast was massive. Metal shrapnel ripped through the air like bullets. One fragment struck Daniel in the head. 4 days later, on August 13th, Daniel was dead. This wasn't terrorism. It wasn't random. This was the brutal reality of the Quebec Biker War, the deadliest motorcycle club conflict in history. What began as a dispute over drug territory exploded into an 8-year criminal war that turned Montreal into a battlefield. Bombings, executions, arson, assassinations. Over 160 people would die. Hundreds more would be wounded. And the violence would become so extreme that Canada would be forced to rewrite its criminal laws. But in the middle of this chaos, something almost unthinkable happened. A smaller, hungrier motorcycle club, one that was supposed to be crushed, didn't just survive. They took over major parts of Canada's billion-dollar drug trade. This is the true story of how the rock machine rose from betrayal, defied the Hells Angels, and temporarily shattered the most powerful criminal monopoly in Canadian history. To understand how this war began, you need to understand what was at stake. By the early 1990s, Quebec's illegal drug market was worth over $1 billion a year. That kind of money doesn't attract amateurs, it attracts killers. At the top of that food chain sat the Hells Angels motorcycle club. They had arrived in Quebec in 1977, absorbing a local club called the Popeyes MC. From that moment on, they expanded methodically, like a corporation. They didn't sell drugs on street corners. They controlled distribution. Cocaine came in through South American routes handled by the Italian Mafia. The Angels bought in bulk, then distributed through a network of puppet clubs, rockers, evil ones, death riders, who handled retail sales. It was efficient. It was brutal. By 1994, it was almost untouchable. Almost. Because one man stood in their way. His name was Salvatore Cazzetta. In 1986, Cazzetta founded the Rock Machine Motorcycle Club. Unlike most biker leaders, Cazzetta wasn't just muscle. He was connected. Deeply. He had ties to the Rizzuto crime family, Montreal's dominant mafia organization. That protection gave the Rock Machine something most clubs didn't have: immunity. The Hells Angels knew better than to move directly against a club backed by the Italian mob. For years, an uneasy peace held. Everyone made money. Everyone stayed in their lane. But one man inside the Hells Angels wanted more. That man was Maurice Mom Boucher, president of the Hells Angels Montreal chapter. Boucher didn't want influence. He wanted total control. And as long as Salvatore Cazzetta and the Rock Machine existed, that dream was impossible. Then in 1994, everything changed. Cazzetta was arrested in Fort Erie, Ontario, at a pit bull farm, caught attempting to import 11 tons of cocaine, worth over $275 million. He was facing a 10-year sentence in the United States. Overnight, the Rock Machine was leaderless, and Boucher moved immediately. With Cazzetta gone, the Hells Angels began expanding aggressively. Their puppet clubs started encroaching on Rock Machine territory. But this wasn't just a turf grab. Boucher issued an ultimatum to Montreal's entire underworld: buy from the Hells Angels, or die. This wasn't about Quebec alone. If Boucher controlled Quebec, Ontario was next. And if Ontario fell, the Hells Angels could dominate the Canadian drug trade entirely. The Rock Machine had two choices: submit or fight. They chose war. With Salvatore gone, leadership fell to his brother Giovanni Cazzetta, alongside Claude Vial. They knew they couldn't win alone, so they built something unprecedented: a coalition. It became known as the Alliance Against the Angels, or the Dark Circle. This wasn't just bikers. It included the Pelletier clan, independent traffickers, wealthy Montreal businessmen laundering money through bars and restaurants, criminal groups who refused to live under Hells Angels' rule. At its center was Michel Ducharme, a schoolteacher by day, money launderer by night. This alliance had money, motive, and nothing left to lose. July 13th, 1994. 3 masked men walked into a motorcycle shop in Montreal. Their target, Pierre Daoust, a Death Riders member. They opened fire without warning. Daoust was dead within seconds. The Quebec Biker War had begun. What followed was chaos. Executions, bombings, retaliations. Anyone who switched sides became a target. And the violence kept escalating. By 1995, bombs were no longer rare. They were routine. Then came August 9th. A car bomb meant for a Hells Angels associate detonated near a residential street. Daniel Desrochers never had a chance. His death shattered the illusion that this was just criminals killing criminals. Public outrage exploded. The government responded with Operation Carcajou, a massive joint police task force. But even under pressure, the Rock Machine kept growing. While the Hells Angels were distracted by police scrutiny, the Rock Machine expanded aggressively. They built their own puppet clubs. They took territory. Leaders like Frederick Faucher were earning over $250,000 a month from cocaine trafficking. They weren't surviving, they were winning. By the late 1990s, the Rock Machine controlled huge portions of Quebec's drug trade, and then came the final evolution. In 1999, the Rock Machine aligned with the Bandidos Motorcycle Club, the Hells Angels' global enemy. By 2001, they officially became Bandidos Canada. For a moment, a brief, dangerous moment, they were on top. Then police struck back. Operation Springtime destroyed the Hells Angels leadership. Operation Amigo followed, dismantling the Rock Machine. Both empires collapsed. The Quebec Biker War ended in 2002. No one truly won. Over 160 dead. Countless lives destroyed. A child became a symbol of unchecked criminal ambition. The Rock Machine proved the Hells Angels were not invincible. But in the end, power consumed them both, and the war left behind a lesson Canada would never forget. No criminal empire lasts forever, and the price of control is always paid in blood.